friends, you are welcome to this session. It is session 3 of Unit 1, and this session is looking at the constructivist learning theory. Let's continue to look at our objectives for the session. By the end of this session, you will be able to explain when meaningful learning occurs, define schema, distinguish between accommodation and assimilation from the constructivist perspectives, and explain the importance of relevant previous experience of science students to the chemistry teacher. Our first objective, meaningful learning. Bruner's constructivist learning is premised on active nature of learning, with the underlying conception of constructivism as that knowledge resides in the individual learner. When does learning become meaningful? That is, when the new materials are well connected with existing related schema or knowledge. Let's look at an example here. You know that acids turn litmus paper red. Now you go and see, let's say, hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid. You test with litmus paper, and then it changes the litmus paper to red. Already you have the knowledge that acids turn litmus paper red, and so seeing sulfuric acid turn litmus paper red, you tend to get a strong connection between these, and you'll be well convinced that sulfuric acid is an acid, or H2SO4 is an acid. We have mentioned schema. What is the schema about? It is a network of abstract mental structures for organizing knowledge, or system around which behavior is organized. In other words, for every intelligent behavior that we demonstrate, it is built on something. And the very thing that is built on is what we are referring to as the schema. Children are born into this world not empty-headed, but with certain mental structures upon which to build knowledge, or upon which to build the knowledge about the world. However, they may have a limited number of schemata. In constructivism, an individual can only learn if his or her conceptual schema provides the framework upon which to fit new knowledge. And when does learning conflict occurs? If there is a contradiction between the existing schema and the new ideas. Now you have, for example, you have learned that acids are proton donors, or an acid donates proton. And so that is in your schema, or you have built such schema. Now you go and meet a certain substance that they are saying is an acid. You have checked with litmus paper, it has turned red. Yet that compound does not have a proton in it, doesn't have hydrogen in it. Then you now get confused, and conflict is now occurring, because in the schema you know that acid is a proton donor. So if we are calling a certain substance an acid, it should have a proton or a hydrogen in it. In the new case, there is no hydrogen. Meanwhile, it's an acid. So there is a learning conflict in such situation. An individual schema can take new information either through the process of accommodation or assimilation. Let's proceed to look at these two, this accommodation and the assimilation, what they are about. Accommodation is the process of adding an action system that is consistent with those that are already organized within the schema. In other words, adding experiences that have good connections with what you already know or the schema that you have built already. So, like what I said, what the example we cited earlier, knowing acids turn litmus paper red. And so you meet a substance, it turns litmus paper red, you are convinced that this is an acid. You add to it that this substance is an acid. In other words, any new experience that is coming has a link with the schema, and so you easily add it to your knowledge. Then on the other hand, we have assimilation, which takes place by the incorporation of new concepts into existing conceptual framework held by the learner, and at the same time modifying the schema to make it consistent with the new response. In this case, the new experience is not consistent, or what you knew, the schema that you have built already, does not tally with what is coming. You have built already that acid is a proton donor, so acid should have proton. You have come to a case where there's an acid but there is no proton in it. Then you would have to modify the schema that is there already to make room for the new knowledge. You may have a schema of a certain method that you use to solve problems related to the Mo concept. And so whenever you are challenged with similar problem, you just retrieve your schema on how to solve such problems, and then you solve. Now you come across a new situation, that similar problem, but what you have there is not applicable, is not working. Then you would have to modify your schema to make room for the solving of the new problem. So what is coming in doesn't really have a link with what is there, but you would have to adjust or modify the schema to make room for what is coming. The learner needs to attain cognitive equilibrium, in other words, equilibration, by seeking stability through assimilation and accommodation. There should be a balance between assimilation and accommodation, because if we are to accommodate all the time, then we will not learn any new thing, because what is coming is almost like it's already there, or there is a strong link with what is coming. There's a strong link between what is coming and what is already there, and what is coming is not actually new. So if we are learning by accommodation only, then we will not learn any new thing. Also, if we learn by assimilation alone, then at a point we will become exhausted. What you know today, tomorrow you have to change it, because the experience coming is new to you and you have to change your schema all the time. You have to change your schema all the time. You will not even be able to build certain patterns, and solving problems will become very difficult because you will not be able to build experiences, because every time what is coming in is new and you have to modify your schema. So there should be a balance between assimilation and accommodation. There should be a balance between learning what has a link there already and learning new things that you would have to adjust or modify your schema. Now, knowing this, what should a chemistry teacher do? One, the chemistry teacher should draw upon relevant previous experiences of the learner in teaching new materials. So, what is coming in as much as accommodation is concerned, try for your learners to retrieve what is there already so that the new information coming, they will be able to draw proper link between them, or so that the new one that is coming can effectively build on the previous one. You should anticipate the misconceptions and misunderstandings and then take measures to clarify them. You should know that in some cases, students come to your class with misconceptions. And if you don't take the pain to clear these misconceptions and misunderstandings, your students will be having confusion throughout the times they will spend with you, because you are always trying to build on previous knowledge. Meanwhile, previously, what is there is a misconception. So whatever that is coming in, the student finds it very hard to absorb it. You have to clear misconceptions and misunderstandings. Also, the teacher should use active instructional techniques to help students to strengthen connections between new concepts and prior ideas. Don't choose a strategy that will give you, the teacher, about 90% in the classroom. No. Use strategies in which students will become active in the class. Students will be engaged in the class. And when we do this, there will be a strong connection between new ideas and prior ideas. My good friends, we are ending the session with these questions. Try them. Let's meet in the next session. Thank you very much.